Broncos country, what is going on? We got a winning record for the first time in almost a decade. It's insane. Did not come in the fashion in which I kind of thought it would happen, Mark. But nonetheless, we played like crap for 3 quarters and still won 31-13, which is insane. Guys, we're going to break it all down here with Marquee Sports. So y'all be sure to smash that like, subscribe, join the conversation. Thank you so much. David's already in here. We'll get to some of your comments and super chats as the night goes on, along with giving a little bit of an early preview to Thursday night's matchup against the Chargers. David said, hey, here, a few uglies wins, but that is what good teams do. 0 points allowed in the second half. A great performance from the whole team. So yeah, let's get into it. I appreciate your patience, Mark, with my long-winded intro, but how are you doing
No, you're
today?
good.
How are you feeling after that Broncos victory, man?
I'm good, man. I'm feeling good. I obviously it was a crazy game. I feel like we've been saying that after every game. But
Yeah.
I had like 102. I was coming down with the flu, and I had like 102-degree fever before the game started. Right when the game started until the end, I was my normal self. I felt great. I was like, "Hey, man, we're running on adrenaline." Then I started getting sick afterwards. But
Oh,
the Broncos have cured a lot of
mhm.
things, for me personally, and obviously for Broncos country. So always nice to have a winning season, man. And now we just got to get that playoff berth. How you feeling?
Man, it's surreal. It's you know, I thought that we would have a good year, but usually, Mark, like I'm wrong with my predictions. Like I thought that this was a wild card team for the last like 6, 7 years. So I
Yeah,
mean,
right,
like what
right.
do I know? Last year was really the only year in which I didn't have playoff expectations, but it's great to see us win in so many different ways. Bo Nix, I think, had one of his worst games of his young career. We can get into that, but I
Mm,
think just like David pointed out, the biggest thread that I take from the last 3 victories that we've had is that we've come out in the second half and we've had like really strong performances. And you'll always take being a second half team over a first half team. I mean,
yeah.
Mark, how many leads we've blown over the
Oh
years,
God.
how many second halves in which the other coaching staff has made better adjustments than we have. And it's nice to see us play better football, regardless of how ugly the first halves are. We're playing better football in the second half, and doing it with a young team, I think, is makes it all that more exciting.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. I mean, I remember for how long was it like we had like we were like the worst third quarter team. The third quarter was like the dreaded quarter. I think if I recall one year there was like a plus 100 plus point differential in just the third quarter in terms of the whole season. And yeah, I mean, it's kudos to Sean Payton, man. He's definitely got this team dialed in, and seeing us being able to win these games. Earlier in the year, Bo Nix had very bad games, especially the first two
Mhm.
weeks. We couldn't overcome it. He arguably has his worst game this week against, a respectable opponent, even though they were in the Christmas giving mood. And yet we still won, you know, by a lot. So it's and just this team continues to show all the different ways that they can win. So love to
Yeah,
see it. Love to see
and
it.
let's break this down. Of course, Nick Benito, he's the star. We'll get to him in a minute, but a guy I feel like I had totally lost faith in, by the midway point of the season pretty much. And Mark, you need your credit, and I'm going to give you credit because you have always been a Marvin Mims believer. You said, "Man, he just isn't being utilized right or correctly." Was this his best game of his career? I don't feel like we win this game without how good he was, particularly on special teams, man. I would love to hear your opinion on his game yesterday.
Yeah, and he gave us that we always knew that he was a great special teams player. He's somebody that could be a beast in the return game. And he chose a really great day to have his best moment. This kid's explosive. He just seems to make
Yeah.
plays whenever he's comfortable. And I think he was making it up because if I was talking about it a little bit yesterday, but if you remember last year when we had that awful Christmas Eve loss against the Patriots, he was a big reason why we lost that game, right? He had a fumble that basically handed them 7 points, and he was just
Mhm.
struggling a lot. So to see him make it up, to see him happy, he's just fired up. It seems like the team loves him. I'm thrilled because I am always a fan of giving opportunities to the players that clearly have talent, and he's got a lot of talent. They found ways to mix him in on offense. But yesterday he made his he made his mark on special teams, man. So so happy for my boy Marvin. I'm happy that it hasn't backfired on me like a lot of other things had. So that was good to see, man. That was good to see.
Man, I've loved to see it. I love to see that, like, Will Lutz giving him his flowers on Twitter, of course, and just a lot of the fans, man, really rallying behind him. I think that draft class is starting to look a little bit better now, wouldn't you say? I mean, maybe Marvin Mims was still drafted a little high, but whatever, man. I think
Yeah.
that he's, at that point in the draft, I think if you're getting a Pro Bowl level special teams returner, and just that in itself can make a late second, early third round pick worth it. He's not a bust in my eyes right now, and hopefully he can continue to build on it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'd still, still want to see them work them as much as they can in the offense. I think that they will now. With looks like Jaleel might miss this game, but no, it's been awesome, man. But I had a question, David. I'm curious your thoughts on this, man.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we're kind of playing with fire a little bit too much?
Oh man. Okay. Well, the f- the fact that we don't got a run game, I feel like it's not ideal for a rookie quarterback, man. And I think people have pointed this out before. I mean, the Colts were averaging like 150 yards given up on the ground coming into
Hmm.
this game. And I don't know, maybe they were just better because they got some time off, after playing 13 straight weeks of football, just like we have. Um, their run defense was great. Kind of cut that number essentially in half. And most of the yardage that I feel like we were able to get was just because of Bo Nix's legs. I don't know the offensive stats like offhand right now. I can pull them up here in a bit, but I I feel like we are putting a lot of pressure on Bo Nix to drive this offense. Um, I think he's done better with it than expected because I was not expecting a lack of a run game this season, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah,
But right now, I I see us getting to 10 wins in this regular season, like at the very least winning one out of our last three. Uh, this is definitely playing with fire when it comes to our playoff chances of winning a playoff game, man. Like, you can't be this one dimensional and think you're going to beat a team like Buffalo or Pittsburgh. Um, and I don't know what to do, man. I know we were talking a little bit about Audric Estime earlier today in the group chat. I don't know how you solve this run game, man. I don't know what's going on, what Estime has to do to earn the trust, but the results just aren't there right now from Javante, and it sucks to see Jaleel banged up a little bit. What do you think?
yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's almost getting to the point where, like a lot of things, I feel like this year is kind of frustrating to keep talking about. But I really think it's just as simple as maybe just committing to it a little bit more, right? Like, what
Yeah.
happens when you just choose one of these guys? I don't even care if it's Javante. I don't care who it is, and you just say we're gonna hammer him 20 to 25 carries in a game,
Yeah.
and kind of see what pops off. Because I mean, listen, this room isn't good by any means, but there's a lot worse teams or a lot worse running backs that I feel like have at least had those, decently productive games. And it's just crazy to think that, we're averaging 3 yards a carry. I mean, over the last, few weeks. And yesterday it was less versus a bad team. So it definitely worries me. And I don't want to make it like, overshadow the fact that we're at 9 wins and we're
Hmm.
a win away from a playoff berth. But something's got to give, you would think, right? I mean, maybe they finally activate the guy that we've been
Blake
talking about
Watson.
for the longest time, and Blake Watson. And you never know what he can do with his opportunities. But it seems like every time they finally make a changing of the guard, that running back gets hurt. Right, the first time
Yeah.
Tyler Baday's finally the starter. He gets injured that game. Julian McLaughlin gets to start this game. He gets hurt. So it's like, damn, what's going on, man? But hey, man, I don't know. I guess at this point, it's just kind of like we just have to embrace it being what it is, and hope that it pops off at the most opportune moment for us. And maybe it happens on Thursday.
Yeah, maybe so. Because I don't feel great about this game with a one-dimensional offense going up against a Jim Harbaugh coach Chargers team. Would feel a lot better about it if maybe they had a few of their prior coaches at the helm, but that's just not the reality. They got their butt whooped at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we'll get into this later, but they're going to come out motivated trying to get that blowout taste out of their mouth really quick. But it's kind of sad, Mark, going back to the running game where it's like, shoot, Latavius Murray is available. We talked about how CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, was released today. And it's like, man, we're considering these dudes and if they might be better than what we have. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. It's wild. I didn't think, I mean, it was always the running back room was always a concern for me, but I thought we would definitely figure it out and be halfway competent. But yeah, I mean, I kind of talked myself into Clyde Edwards-Helaire earlier. I was like, shit, I can see him maybe coming in and doing something. And it's like, oh man, where have we where have we gotten to? It's crazy because when you think about it, if I knew we were going to be talking about this early in the year, I would have thought we were, 4-win team looking on the next season. We've got lucky to be able to overcome it, but it's definitely been a problem. And so just kind of is what it is, right?
Yeah. And you got to just hope that Bo Nix can continue to grow and learn from these situations. Again, it's never ideal to put the entire offense behind a rookie quarterback. I mean, that's, the Bears are playing right now. That's really what Caleb Williams has had to deal with. That's what some of these other guys have had to deal with as well. And it's never the recipe for the most success, of course, even with veteran quarterbacks. And so something has to give. I think if at least you don't see much change happen prior to Thursday or for Thursday night's game, you at least see that addressed in some different way with the mini bye and all that, having some extra time. I mean, I've been somebody that has thought with Tyler Bidet with his injury, man, just wait till next year. But now I'm at the point where it's like, if he's going to be ready for this last stretch or for a playoff game, I mean, literally, I don't think there's anything in terms of a negative that he could bring because, to see Javonte, man, just running in to chaos at the line, to see, how limited Julian McLaughlin can be as a weapon, and then just to see again Audric Estime just not get run. I'm very thankful that this seems to be one of the deeper rookie running back classes in this year's draft, because regardless if we decide to take, a 1 or day 2 round pick on him or on a running back, you can still, I think, get starter quality running back, especially this year coming from day 3.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed. And it's one of those where, I think it's always, like I said, it's important to find that balance, because just like, Jeremy had said here on the chat, let's enjoy being 9-5. I want to enjoy that. Right. And I very much am.
Yeah.
But there's so many games, especially late in the year, man. You're going to see it starting this Thursday. And then even against the Bengals the following week, it's the way that you beat those teams is by running the football, by controlling the clock. Like if you look at what the Bucks did to the Chargers, right? I mean, 223 yards rushing. They averaged 5.7. Granted, they have Bucky Irving and Rashad White, who both are, I think, very good backs.
Irving, man.
Yeah. And then even as Sean Tucker that came in, but 223 yards, completely controlled the game in every sense of the way. They ended up dominating the Chargers. The Chargers are not going to be able to run the ball consistently, especially with J.K. Dobbins out. But they, if we can find a way to control the clock, the time of possession, and do so by the running game, we'll have a very good chance of beating them. If we can't, we'll have a very good chance of losing. It's going to be, you're going to see that theme be very similar. We can't keep living on this. Hey, our defense will get 5 turnovers and 2 of them will be touchdowns. We'll be good. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I'm curious. Let's stick on Bo Nix here a little bit. Um, wow, that was just an insane sack on Caleb Williams and fumble recovery. But anyways,
Ooh.
um, let's talk about Bo Nix, man. Yeah, terrible in this game really until the fourth quarter. Not ideal. I know that there's some discussion on whether maybe Cortland Sutton was at some fault for some of these picks, but um, hey, we give Bo so much credit when we win when he's on. I'm gonna say, man, he had a terrible night. I didn't like
It is.
some of these throws that he made. I thought he telegraphed them. But what were your thoughts on his performance? And yeah, like you thought probably the lack of run game had something to do with it too, right?
I think so. I think, and I'm not surprised by it eventually coming to bite us. I was surprised by how poorly he played. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I do feel like he was feeling a little bit of pressure that he had to get this game going. He
Yeah.
started realizing how important this was, and I don't really think a lot of the guys were getting open like he was hoping. So he was kind of force feeding Cortland. So it wasn't a good game, but I will say I loved his response, not just on the field. I mean, he got a couple late touchdowns, which were fairly easy ones. But the way he talked about it after the game was really refreshing. Coming off of a season where what frustrated me the most with Russell Wilson wasn't his play on the field; it was his inability to just you know be in reality and say like I
Say
played
it how
terribly
it
or we
is.
played
Yeah.
bad, right? And so it was nice to hear him. He talked about how he put that on him. He struggled. He felt like he was definitely forcing some things, and he didn't want it to get to the point of his game where he was like seeing things he wasn't and not trusting his eyes anymore. So I think he overcame it. I think there's a bunch to learn. One thing we know from him is that he tends to learn from his mistakes really quickly. I think he bounces
Yep.
back really well. So it is what it is. But I think a lack of running game kind of just finally came to bite us in this particular game, and even a little bit in the Browns game. So
Mhm.
it'll
Yeah.
something had to give, and it did. But luckily, it didn't cost us a win by any means.
Y- Yeah, we'll get to the defense here in just a minute, but that's probably the thing that I'm most impressed with is just his mental fortitude to not check out, to not, maybe cry on the sidelines. What we've seen with certain quarterbacks
Yeah.
here in the past when things aren't going their way, and he put together a really great fourth quarter. I mean, it was kind of Tim Tebow-esque in a way. We were talking about that in the group chat yesterday. It's like, man, this might just be a Tim Tebow game. We might just need a good fourth quarter. And it was great to see him, I think, finally settle down. The defense, Marvin Mims, these guys were making an insane amount of plays to help us stay in the game. And then you saw him make some really great throws. I mean, you got some great design as well, but on that Nate Atkins touchdown, that was beautifully designed.
Yeah.
Credit to Sean Payton for that. And seeing Nate Atkins, man, put a little spin move on a couple
Yeah.
defenders.
Yeah. A
I mean,
little, you got a little shimmy
that was
there.
awesome. I
Yeah.
loved it. And those other two touchdown throws, if I remember correctly, Bo is manipulating the safeties, looking off,
Yeah.
with his eyes, and then hitting Troutman downfield for like a 20-yard touchdown. Then he's hitting Cortland Sutton on a beautiful double move that he put
Yeah.
on him,
Yeah.
down the field. So that was really great to see him finish on a really strong note, kind of similar to the Chargers game, the first one, where
Mhm.
he was just bad. We couldn't get anything going. Now, he didn't get the win, but you saw him gain that confidence and kind of find his rhythm and timing as the game went on. It was great to see him. Like, I don't feel like since maybe Pittsburgh or whatever, we've really seen him play just like a bad 4 quarters of football. He's
Mhm.
always able to kind of put it together there at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And I think this was definitely no different. And sure, you can look at a few things like maybe Sutton was at fault a little bit on that second pick, but you still can't throw that, right? It's
No.
still not you can't. I mean, even if he's a little bit deeper, and if he somehow makes the catch, it's not a good decision. And so yeah, you gotta tell it like it is. He had a rough game, but like I said, if you have a rough game and you win, I have no problems with that. That's
Yeah.
actually my preferred way of having a bad game. I can tell you that.
And I think he'll learn quite a bit. I mean, I think that, yeah, some of those interceptions, they had to deal with I think some really nice and tricky zone coverage. I mean, on that first interception, if I'm looking at that live, I think that that guy who ended up picking it off is in man, like he's not sitting back there, and I mean, he made a really nice play on the ball. And yeah, again, I think he just thought he could hit some of these windows that just weren't available with how they were playing, and he'll learn, man. I'm not too concerned about that. He's shown a willingness to learn as time goes on. I think that will be great. But let's talk about Nick Bonino right now, man.
Man,
A
man,
second
oh man.
pick six. What did you think of his performance, man?
I'm genuinely shocked. I knew he had superstar ability. I really did. I know we talked about that a lot, but nothing
Mhm.
like this. He's like, should he have been a DB? I mean, he might be the best corner we have on the team the last couple weeks.
I love how AD
Because
Mitchell called him Ed Reed.
is that what he said? Is that what he called him? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He's like, yeah, well, I thought Anthony Richardson was open, and then Nick Bonino turned into Ed Reed. It's like what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. It was man, he's been just lights out of this world. Unbelievable play again. I saw the interception, like when the ball was going back, I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be a pick. I did not know it was Nick Bonito. And when I saw it was him again, I was like, are you kidding me? I went crazy. And put a video up on my TikTok that I was like, oh, I might have been a little bit nuts on that, but it was funny. Just started on TikTok, by the way. I'll put some information on there. But anyway, that's a side note. But he's been unbelievable, man. And he's just kinda going about it like it's normal, and his teammates are like, this guy has been making plays like this, in practice all the time. And it's been unbelievable. I love it. There's not really, it almost makes me speechless, man. So, but I think he's been playing out of his mind, and he really should be in defensive player of the year consideration. I
Yes.
really highly doubt he'll win it, but he deserves to be. But what do you think overall about Mr. Casa Bonito?
Man, I'm starting to like really start rizzing him up, as the kids would say, because if he continues to play at this level, I mean, he projects as a future Ring of Famer for this team, which I
Yeah.
never would have expected. And it's kind of funny, man, with Jonathan Cooper, you've just kind of seen him just get incrementally like better a little bit every single year to now he's like, yeah, he's like a really solid uh edge for like
Mhm.
he's very solid, very
Yeah.
good, and doesn't have a weakness in his game. And you kind of saw that a little bit from Benito, but kind of a little bit longer developing, I thought. Last
Yeah.
year I just don't really felt like or feel like he was completely trusted, in the run game at certain points, or to play, a handful of downs in a row. You would see Baron Browning rotate in, but I think the Baron Browning trade, of course, you kind of already knew from that point before that Nick Bonito like had surpassed him, had gained that trust, has developed to be, at least I feel, serviceable in the run, and now like he's an elite pass rusher in the NFL. I mean, nobody has that type of get up, and it's crazy how we can go from somebody that was so quick off the edge in Von Miller to where, yeah, he's pretty close in terms of his quickness off the line. I don't know if I would fully go Von Miller, but he's the fact that we're even having this discussion. It's just credit to, again, George Payton. Maybe some of these picks early on we're looking like, I don't know, but credit to having good coaching staff, nutrition, changing up the training staff since Sean
Yep.
Payton's gotten here. You've seen all these, a handful of these draft picks come back and play better. And now, with how this Garrett Bowles contract is, I have no doubt in my mind that when he's due for an extension coming up here, he's going to be paid very well, and we should be able to do it maybe even early with how our cap situation's looking at it. And that could be more team friendly as Bo Nix comes up for hopefully a nice extension.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you have to, just like Mark Farley had said in the chat, pay Nick. Yep. I mean, the second you get an opportunity to, and I think we technically can after this season, after the season is over, because he's got 3 accrued years, you got to pay him. You got to pay him. And Mark, by
Mhm.
the way, very nice way to spell your name. That is the only way to spell Mark. So I wanted to give a shout out right there. MARC is the way to spell it. So,
I
but
love it.
yeah, No doubt about it. Pay Nick Bonito. He's been amazing. And, you touched on something that I thought was really a great point in terms of Sean Payton's nutritional staff and them coming in. I mean, unbelievable job with the lack of injuries and keeping guys healthy. But he always talked about too, we wanted this guy to come in at this weight. He's come in, he's looked good. They want guys to come in at certain weights. Cortland is in the best shape he's ever been in, right?
Mhm.
Garrett Bowles looks amazing in his year 33, 33 years old, and he looks like he's in amazing shape. Nick Bonito's put on some weight. So they've definitely got something really dialed in to help these guys with their bodies too.
Yeah, and I want to shout out the Walton Penner Group. I mean, this was something when the NFLPA has released those ratings over the last few years. NFL players prior to the Penners, so when the Broncos was run by when they were run by the Trust, got terrible marks for the nutrition staff, for the training staff, all of that. And I mean, you saw it with the play on the field as well, injuries. And then, I mean, how many hamstring or quad, soft tissue injuries did these guys have? Garrett Bowles went to talk about it earlier on in his extension press conference last week about how there just wasn't a lot of structure and, throughout certain coaching staffs. And it's been great to see both George Payton, Sean Payton. They've been aligned with having that structure, being implemented. And, the Penners, they will spare no dollar on that. And you see that with them upgrading the training facility, changing out the turf halfway through the year every single season since I bought the team. So it's awesome to see. And yeah, I mean, you can only imagine, man, what would have KJ Hamler possibly turned into if
Yeah.
he had this sort of structure and environment? I mean, he was just hurt all the freaking time. And those things add up over time as well. But I want to talk about another guy, and I think, Mark, what could end up being a legendary draft class for this Broncos team. We've gotten impact from pretty much everybody on this team, and now we're seeing impact. Well, from the draft class, and now we're seeing impact from Chris Abrams-Draine. Levi Wallace was inactivated, which I was not expecting. I thought that they were going to give him another shot because Sean Payton usually loves the veterans, and Chris Abrams-Draine, man, I thought he was fantastic. What did you think?
Yeah, man. Very, very solid. I was happy because I was talking to my buddies in another group chat I was like, they were freaking out about Levi Wallace, and I was like, this guy Chris Abrams-Draine, I can assure you that at least he's gonna splash some plays, and I don't think it's gonna be nearly as bad as what Levi Wallace put on the table last week. He looks very, very good, better than I had anticipated. The PFF marks were amazing too. He's one of the highest graded for PFF, but just the eye test, I don't think he even allowed a catch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um,
Mhm.
during the game, but he looked awesome, man, and I'm
Yeah.
thrilled that it's just kudos to them too, man. This guy's been on the roster all year, but inactive in basically every game. Last week was the first game he's actually even
Mhm.
activated. He's kind of just you talk about being thrown into the fire, right? He's thrown into the last drive of the game, essentially to close the game out. And in the limited snaps, I think he did good. Saw that you made a video on that as well. And
Yeah.
then boom, this week he looked great against a pretty decent set of receivers. The closest receivers are no slouches. So I thought he looked awesome, man. I thought he looked comfortable, and that's all you can really ask. So kudos to him. It's
Yeah,
been a hell of a draft class
he
for sure.
yeah, was calm in the clutch. I mean, I forget what down it was. It might have been a second or third down where Anthony Richardson targeted him, long in the end zone, and he came up with a big pass breakup. I forget which wide receiver that was on, Alec Pierce maybe. But then you also saw him on that 4th and 6 in the fourth quarter, him come up with another really nice pass breakup. Yeah, like he showed up in those big moments, 4th down, being targeted down the field for a touchdown and breaks it up. And really, really impressed. I do want us to definitely draft a new corner as well. You can never have enough quality corners, but
Mhm.
he's somebody that I think that there's a lot to be encouraged about, especially once Riley Moss gets back. Ideally, we have, our top 4 corners available. And, thank God, man, Pat Surtain full participant in practice today. I think he's going to be good to go. And we kind of got away with one there. But yeah, he was fantastic. I did want to ask you about this. I was forgetting until now, man. But really, I said this on Twitter. The MVP of that game yesterday was Jonathan Taylor, man. The
Yeah.
fact that he would do something so boneheaded like that. That was like typical Broncos luck that like I feel like has happened to us over the last 8 years,
Yeah.
where it's like Jerry Jeudy forgetting to drag, his second foot in the end zone against the Patriots, or a Marvin Mims fumble, something like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, but we saw it kind of break in our favor, man. What was going through your mind and just on that whole sequence?
Yeah, I was thinking, man, Christmas came early, and I feel like the curse was lifted, just like you had said. Those are we have not we don't get handed like gifts like that very often, especially the last 8 years. And damn, did we ever! And I just thought it was really funny when somebody asked Sean Payton afterwards, like, "Do you guys emphasize that and talk to your players a lot?" And you could tell what he wanted to say, but he held himself back. He literally said, "I'm holding myself back from saying something I want to regret." But he's like, "That's common sense. Like, why would you have to teach your players, hey man, hold on to the ball through the goal line?" Couldn't believe it. Thank you, Jonathan Taylor. Will forever be grateful. And I couldn't believe it, to the point where I was like, "Oh my god, like it's been terrible, and we're only down 6. Like we're gonna win this game." And it's exactly what ended up happening. I just completely deflated them. So
Yeah,
couldn't believe
yeah,
it, but I'll take it.
yeah. I felt like the game was over then, man. And after that happened, I was like, this is the NFL. Like you're gonna find some momentum here at some point. I started to feel really good with that. And again, I love the resilience that this team plays with. You know,
Yeah,
we haven't been playing perfect football, but somehow we always cover the spread, right? And I think that those are really good traits as this young team's developing. And again, I think that with this Garrett Bowles extension, it really just does allow us to target the skill positions, maybe grab some more depth on defense, which is, I think, definitely needs to be a priority, guys. Right now, I think DJ Jones does need to be re-signed because there isn't a nose tackle better than him right now that's set to hit the market. Um, and yeah, I think that while I don't want us to fully go all of our draft picks on offense, I think that we can devote a handful of them, to the running back position, to tight end, whatever. And, the fact that we're playing this good of football with an incomplete offense, I think um, it goes to show, man, how unified this team is. The defense could have easily checked out in the
mhm,
third quarter.
yep.
Does this count as a fourth quarter comeback for Bo Nix? I think technically we didn't have the lead until the fourth quarter, so this would be
Did we
three.
not?
No, I think it was 13-10 at the
Yeah,
beginning of the.
you're absolutely right. It would. It would. That's a hell of a fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah,
Uh,
we were driving. Like I think we were in their territory by the time the
yeah,
fourth quarter started. But I think this is Bo Nix's third fourth quarter comeback. That's all.
yeah.
That's the only thing that the stats are going to tell you.
That's funny, man. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't even I didn't even realize that we had scored. We had scored the touchdown to take the lead. Yeah, 10 seconds into the fourth. At the yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
So
like the second play, because I
yeah,
think
second play of the
Troy
fourth.
Franklin dropped that bubble and then hit it
Yep,
downfield
and
or
then
something
it
like
was
that.
a
So
tug. Yeah, crazy stuff. And you know what's wild, man? Thinking about this 4-game win streak that we're on, we
yeah,
have averaged our average margin of victory has been 17.6 points per game.
it's insane. That's insane.
Insanity.
And yes,
Not
we're
even playing
going up
well.
against bad teams or whatever, but this is what good teams should do against bad
Yeah.
teams is win by that sort of margin, man. That's
Yep.
insane.
Yeah. Insanity. It
Now,
really is.
how do you feel about this Chargers game, man? Let's get a little bit more into detail on this. Never ideal to have it get flexed a few days up. Even
Yeah.
though I'm happy we'll be able to see more Broncos, football here sooner. I got to be honest, man. I'm a little nervous about this matchup, even though the Charger Stadium's been like a home field advantage for us.
Yeah. No, I mean, rightfully so, right? I think it's because the Chargers have proven to be kind of a bad matchup for us, in a sense of, their kind of MO is don't turn the ball over, run the ball down your throat, and play really good defense. And all year, and it's one of those things where I'm not even trying to come off as a Charger hater, but all year I'm like, I don't feel like this Chargers team is good, but they just, at one point just kept winning, right? And so obviously they're extremely well coached. I think very similarly to how a lot of people might think about the Broncos, right? Is that, they might not think that they can't be that good, but they keep winning. I'm not as nervous at this game as I thought I would be, man. After I saw what kind of happened with them against the Bucks, I don't like playing them coming off of now 2 consecutive losses. But I think they're at a point now where they're just injured, they're beat up, they're battered, they're bruised. This is a time if we're gonna get them, we can get them now. I mean, Justin Herbert's definitely not healthy. They can't run the ball at all without J.K. Dobbins, like at all. And then their defense is starting to kind of crumble a little bit. So, and I always feel like we get at least one against the Chargers. Even in our worst years, we always get one. I know this is not the same Chargers team, but I don't know, man. I feel good about this game. I really do. I think that this team is just on a roll and they're on a mission. They just want to get the win, get the playoff berth, and avenge that first loss. I love the fact that we lost to them the first time. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be good motivation. But we're going to be
Yeah.
beat up too. That final injury report is going to be really important.
Yes.
Really, really important.
I would expect DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, those guys to play. I imagine they just sit until Thursday because I believe they did finish out the game, which is good. And yeah, we're gonna need them, man. I am a little concerned, just a little bit, man, with our run defense. I was glad we were able to shut down after Jonathan Taylor dropped that touchdown and fumbled it. We were able to
Yeah.
shut down their running game after that, which was great. And yeah, we can't let Kamani Vidal or Gus Edwards or whoever just light us up. We cannot have that happen.
No,
And
no, we
while
can't.
we're missing Riley Moss, it's going to be interesting to see what the plan is with Lad McConkey. I mean, he is. We had issues with Jerry Judy. He might be kind of the next closest guy, you know, to Jerry Judy that's kind of built in that form. Really quick, twitchy, wonderful route runner. What do you think is going to be the plan defensively for covering him?
For Lad, oh, I think it
Yeah.
has to be just put PS2 wherever the hell he is. Let him
Okay.
really earn it, especially with Quentin Johnson potentially being out. I
Okay.
know he hurt his ankle. He was estimated as a non-participant. So if it's just him, you've got to be able to blanket cover him. But he's a hell of a good player. But I think
Yeah.
if you look at that second half, the first time we played the Chargers, the defense played a lot better. It was really the offense that couldn't get it going. But I don't think they scored too many points on us in the second half. A lot of it was because we just started to focus on eliminating Lad McConkey as much as we could, and obviously got more stout against the run. So that's what my game plan against him would be, is either have PS2 follow him, or always double team him with like a safety over the top, and then a guy
Mhm.
below.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. Now, with the offense, man, do you think that we kind of go with what we had success in that fourth quarter of that last game with? Do you see us kind of spreading things out a little bit more? What do you think the path to success is against this defense that, yeah, I mean, they kind of embarrassed us for that the
Yeah,
majority of that game.
yeah, no doubt. I think I like the idea of resorting back to going empty, spreading it out, starting the
Mhm.
offense like that, and then maybe hoping that can open up the run game later. Getting the easy completions, winning on first and second down. We started to do a better job of that in yesterday's game as well. We had a lot of third and shorts in the second half. I think
Mhm.
that's going to be the biggest thing, because I think we might be fooling ourselves if we just think, all right, we're going to go in there, we're going to establish the run, and we're going to control the game from that standpoint. That's part of the game plan. We just haven't proven to be able to do that. So I think the best way is try to get that run game going, and then hope it opens up some lanes later.
Yeah, maybe we make Marvin Mims a real important focal point of the script kind of coming out, seeing what sort of looks and reads you can get with him at various spots in
Yep.
these formations. Again, I think that if you're running a lot of misdirection with him, running some plays towards him to keep the defense honest, maybe that will help our run game finally get going. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to see a scenario in which Bo Nix is passing for 45 attempts in this game or anything like that. Let's provide him some support, and yeah, you just can't. It's tough because you don't want to give up on it, but at the same point, you haven't proven you. I feel like I'm watching the Buffs a lot right now. With we're getting good quarterback play for the most part, right? But just nothing from the run game, and I feel like there's only so much you can do until you got a guy back there that can truly make the most of this offensive line. Unless you don't think the offensive line's been blocking good, what's been your read on that?
Oh God, no, no. I think the O line's been great. I think that it's been a multitude of things. I mean, it almost feels like now Sean Payton will try a couple runs, different looks, whether it be like a toss play or misdirection or a counter or whatever. And if they don't go well, he kind of just stops for a little bit and then he tries it again later. So
Yeah,
there's not really that confidence, which like I said, is totally understandable. But I love the idea of going to the pistol, right? Take some things out of what your CU Buffs did. Um,
yeah,
we had some success with that against the Bucks, if I remember early in the year. Just some unique looks, man. Put Marvin Mims and Javante or Estim or whoever, in the backfield together. Throw them off a little bit. Why the hell not? It's not, and then your quarterback is also a threat to run, also. So I think that there's more that we can be doing, but it's just yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like I don't even know what it is at this point. But
yeah. I mean, this is why Sean Payton's getting paid the big bucks, right? It's to for him to make these corrections and changes rather than the fans. D Rock's bringing up a great point here. Even though Knicks threw 3 interceptions, Sean Payne didn't stop attacking downfield for big plays, and I truly admire that for Nick's
big
confidence.
time. Yep.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, big time. I'm not surprised by that at all. Sean Payne's always had this guy's back for sure.
Yeah,
He even tried to say like, the calls, the interceptions, some of the calls are on my fault, and I think he's starting to realize that the best way to handle Bo when he's struggling is to just continue on as if nothing bad happened. Um, so I love it. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I feel like that's a good key for most quarterbacks, man. Honestly, is just to have a quick memory. Now, I do think, of course, hindsight's 2020, right? In previous games as of late, there's been some short third and ones or third and twos in our own territory in which Sean Payton has done like a play action fake. Bo Nix throwing it down 20 yards down the field, right? Cortland Sutton. It's amazing. It's like, man, what kind of confidence is this that you're showing in the rookie? It's great. Then yesterday, you kind of saw that backfire to where it's
Yep.
third and one, you're on the brink of field goal range, and that's when one of those interceptions came, one that shouldn't have been thrown. And yeah, I don't know. I love the fact that Bo is continuing to stay aggressive, attacking downfield. He's not turning into a check down merchant. But I will say there are times at which I wish he would take the check down sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's a lot easier for me to say. And again, I would rather have a quarterback who is more aggressive than not. We've seen enough of the check down merchants over the last handful of years. And
Isn't that
yeah,
isn't that crazy to think, man? Like the first month of the season, it was so opposite. We're like, dude, throw it deep. Well, at least not after the first 2 days, but there was a stretch there where you're like, he's just taking what the defense gives him, and you're like, you want to see him spread the ball more, and then he proves that he can do that. And now it's like you almost have to kind of wean him back and be like, hey, because there was one play yesterday too where he missed Javante wide open in the
mm,
flat. And I think he ended up forcing it to Sutton deep. But so yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of that, but I
yeah.
think he'll work through it. I'm not overly worried about Bo at all.
Yeah, yeah. It's a fun brand of football. whether we're scoring points the way we want to or not when you're throwing downfield. It's just fun. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy that. Let's go ahead and wrap this up here in a few minutes, Mark. Again, really appreciate your time,
Yeah,
even
man.
with you
This
being
is
a little
awesome.
sick. But
Yeah.
endoplasmic, man, I wanted to touch on this. We got to talk about the AFC West. How do you feel about our Chiefs matchup coming up here in a few weeks? Are they just, are they truly unbeatable? Are you making much of this Mahomes ankle injury?
No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Haven't. I never will. The guy will always play. He'll pretend to hobble around when he's not in the pocket and on the playing. And when the play's over, he'll start to hobble. It's a really smart move. So kudos to him. I think that not only are the Chiefs beatable, I think that we are the best matchup of probably any team in the NFL to beat them for a lot of different reasons. I think us being familiar with them is a big piece of it. But I don't think that the Week 18 matchup will mean too much for them. But I haven't even thought about that, man. I just want to get this win
Yeah.
against the Chargers. Honestly,
Yeah.
if we win against the Chargers, I don't even care what happens in the last two games. I feel like I don't. I'll just sit there and just go on my own little mini vacation and just be happy on riding a high for 2 weeks until the playoffs start. So that's all I want.
That's all I want as well, man. I don't know if a win clinches a playoff berth for us, but it should put us,
I
near
think it actually
near
does.
clinching it at the very least. Okay. Like, let's
I'm
go
not
out,
100%
play
sure.
desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's play with some urgency, get this thing locked in, and then I can start daydreaming about what opponent, we could face. Are we gonna get that Russell Wilson, revenge game that we've wanted to have against him? That would be there's a lot of matchups here, I think, that would make really good TV and quite interesting from a
Yeah.
narrative perspective. But Mark, man, it feels so good to be in this situation. It's been so long since we've been able to taste this sort of an experience, this success, and the fact that we're doing it with players that I think are still so far away from reaching their ceiling. It really does give you a lot of confidence for what's to come, man. I love that.
Yep. Me too, man. Me too. I love it. And I want so badly to start talking about the playoffs and the different scenarios and all of that.
Yeah.
It's just got to happen. But to clarify, yes, as long as the Broncos win one of their final three, it doesn't matter which one, they will clinch.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Or,
That's beautiful.
they could lose, and then the Colts, Dolphins, and Bengals have to lose. And
Oh wow. So yeah, we pretty much got this thing wrapped up. Let's not back into the playoffs, but finish the right way. I think we
yeah,
will. Um, and I think, Mark, this is just my theory. I think we're gonna raise our level of play, getting up for some of these tougher opponents down the stretch.
yeah,
I think we will, man. It's just not like Sean Payton's teams to just get blown out in December like this, man. It's just not.
no,
It's just not. Yeah, I know we had New England last year, but
mhm,
yeah, this is a different DNA. He's talked about
yeah.
it. So
No, no doubt. And we have to at some point you've got to just be able to trust in Sean and his read on things, right? I mean, he decided to do the little retreat or whatever it was in West Virginia during that
yeah,
back to back, road trips when coming out of that 2-0, right? Um, he ends up changing a lot of things with the schedule, giving certain guys time off and things ended up working. Goes with his gut. And he said he quickly made that decision to be able to, flex this game. He liked the idea of playing on prime time so that he could showcase the team. He liked, what it would mean for the team afterwards with the Christmas bye. And maybe he just felt like, it's more of a disadvantage for a Chargers team that's really beat up rather than a team like us that just had their bye. And so I think there was a very, very big strategy behind it. And we just got to trust that it was the right move. And, we'll see on Thursday. I still can't believe we're playing in like 72 hours.
I know.
But
I know. It's gonna be fun, man. Well, Mark, thanks again for hopping on. Really do appreciate it. Let the
yeah,
people
man, thanks
know,
for having
man,
me.
what you got going on your channel. Guys, be sure to follow Marky Sports in the description of my video if you're watching on my feed.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we're going to be diving into the PFF grades and stuff from yesterday's game, talking a little bit more about the injury reports as they come out. That'll probably be more on Wednesday. Obviously, I'll give a key matchups and all of that for the game on Thursday. But it's going to be a crammed schedule. We're going to get a lot in, and then
Yeah.
hopefully on Friday, we're just going to begin all the different playoff videos and talking about scenarios and who do you want to see and all that good stuff, man. So we'll put the good vibes out into the air. But David, I appreciate this, man. It's been awesome. Your channel is amazing. So thanks for the platform.
Man, absolutely. I love talking with you, Jeremy, doing our post games. You know, it's always the highlight of my week. So really do appreciate it. Let's make sure to connect. Maybe we can hopefully on Friday to talk about this. Hopefully, what should be a Broncos victory, right? And we'll get back to it. So, guys, we've had well over 50 people in this throughout the stream. So thank you so much spending part of your evening with us. Please be sure to hit that like. That does a ton of stuff for us with the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I'll be back tomorrow with some more Broncos content. As always, hey, go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Peace out. See you guys.